It was a game-changing presentation for us, I think, because we're getting the validation of the 4K claims. We're not seeing drops in performance in key titles like Titanfall 2 and Gears 4. Quantum Break was solid as well.
Yep, I think that's the key right there, is we got the same or better performance than the original versions, and almost all of them were at native 4K, and it did look good. So thus far, it does feel like they are living up to their claims of 4K resolution.
He's a magical pony flying to the sky on a magical...
Shoot it down. Boom! There you guys go, straight from the horse's mouth, no pun intended. Both John and Richard from Eurogamer's very own Digital Foundry, dropping the hammer, spilling the beans, giving the deets on exactly what to expect from Xbox One X later this year. Now, I hope that you guys believe everything that these people are saying. As a matter of fact, I'll link their original video down below. And of course, I only say that because many of you, particularly Sony guys, didn't believe me when I was saying this over a year ago. Now, I'll quote myself from a video that's almost a year old. I'll actually link that down below in the description, where I tell you that the average game running on Project Scorpio, now known as Xbox One X, will be native 4K 30 frames per second with high settings or more. And of course, some games running 4K 60 frames as well. And not only has that come out to be true, because most games are native 4K, clocking at a native 2160p so far, but you know, we're also getting other benefits as well that are amazing. Now, of course, Digital Foundry played 10 titles at Gamescom behind the scenes, with games like Rise of the Tomb Raider, which of course the developers have already come out and claimed to be the definitive console version, all the way from that to Assassin's Creed, to Gears of War 4, to Titanfall 2. And I actually want to show you a clip of theirs where they compare Titanfall 2 running on PlayStation 4 Pro to the Xbox One X version.
It feels like a step up from the PlayStation 4 Pro version, which I think was capped at a max of 1440p.
Yeah.
This one looked to be hanging around 4K
much
more often.
It looked really good, and it was actually a really mech-heavy...
Yeah, it was lots of alpha effects, explosions, and action.
Now, of course, the praise didn't stop there. After all, they did play over 10 titles running on Xbox One X retail units at Gamescom. And of course, they had to talk about Gears of War 4. Now, this is what they had to say when comparing the Xbox One X version of Gears 4 to its PC counterpart.
Gears of War 4, which is one of the most impressive titles on Xbox One already. And yes, it is in fact native 4K on Xbox One X with that excellent temporal anti-aliasing that Unreal Engine 4 has. And we played 3 different sections from the campaign, one of which was pretty impressive looking.
Yeah, the kind of bike scene.
Yeah, there was the bike sequence, there was the defend the village early on in Chapter 1, and then there was the scene towards the end where you're marching around in a mech, basically. And fully 4K, excellent texture filtering, super stable image. I mean, it was locked 30 frames per second, which, you know, that's perhaps the only difference between Xbox and the PC there. Aside from that, it looks just like the PC version running at the highest settings.
Now, of course, I will take it upon myself to repeat what was just said for those of you with very bad hearing. Johnny Boy there from Digital Foundry just told you that the Xbox One X version of Gears of War 4 looks just like the PC version, running at its highest settings. Now, of course, he did mention a frame rate difference between 30 and 60, and that is mostly true. The campaign does, as of right now, run at a locked 30 frames per second, but the competitive multiplayer is 4K 60 frames per second as confirmed by the developers. And of course, 30 frames in the campaign. Hey, is that better than 60? No, it's not even close. But did it stop you from enjoying Uncharted: The Lost Legacy or some other game? Probably not. So the bottom line is, you're getting a massive increase in fidelity here with bells and whistles from the PC version. You are essentially playing the PC version. So this is great news, and this is what I really was hoping for. Graphical increases. Of course, when it comes to 60 frames per second, the more of those options we can get in games, the better. But of course, keep in mind that most multiplayer games these days already run at 60 frames per second. Star Wars Battlefront, Battlefield, Call of Duty, you know, Gears of War, Halo, all of this stuff generally runs at 60 frames anyway in the multiplayer. I just want to see some of that 60 frames per second action in the single player as an option, perhaps in the options menu like Rise of the Tomb Raider has on Xbox One X. But other than that, it's all great news. Tons of power, tons of memory, 9 gigabytes for developers, and it's looking phenomenal. Now, of course, like any piece of hardware, you're not going to be able to hit native 4K on every single game. But when Digital Foundry are damage controlling it, that's when you know it's kind of acceptable.
Seems
But
more likely.
to be fair, it's still a super demanding game. Even on the
Yeah.
PC, if you turn off the temporal reprojection or reconstruction feature, it absolutely murders GPUs.
Yeah.
So the end result, though, is that it does look nice in a 4K screen. Much, much, much better than it does on regular Xbox One X. That's a strong title.
Now, of course, as I'm sure you could tell, Digital Foundry were very pleased with the way Quantum Break was coming together on Xbox One X through its recently announced Xbox One X patch. It looks phenomenal, but as I predicted recently on RDX Podcast, I'll link that down below, Quantum Break is not native 4K. And hey, what can I say? It joins a small handful of 30 frames per second games that are not native 4K on the platform. It's bound to happen, especially in situations where games are horribly optimized on every other platform it's on. So it's not a huge deal. The bottom line is you're getting a significant boost to graphical fidelity as well as resolution, provided you have a 4K TV. Now, of course, if you're on a 1080p TV, your games will ping out at 1080p, and you'll also get those graphics enhancements. You will see that better lighting, the better ambient occlusion, the better tessellation, the better textures, particle systems, no matter what display you're on. But if you decide to upgrade to a 4K display, your game will render at 4K or closer to it, and that is an added benefit. So just look forward to the console. Despite what the naysayers say, there's a lot of people out there casting doubt, and I really don't understand it. It's time to be more positive. Good things are happening. We're finally getting a PC quality experience when it comes to visual fidelity on a console, and I, for one, cannot wait. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think down below. Of course, subscribe for more stuff like this. Check out my last video where I talk about an update to Xbox One that really does some cool things for Xbox One X. And of course, hit that like button and show your support. And remember, X gonna give it to you.
It was a game-changing presentation for us, I think, because we're getting the validation of the 4K claims. We're not seeing drops in performance in key titles like Titanfall 2 and Gears 4. Quantum Break was solid as well.
Yep, I think that's the key right there, is we got the same or better performance than the original versions, and almost all of them were at native 4K, and it did look good. So thus far, it does feel like they are living up to their claims of 4K resolution.